Here we are, another episode of Brotherhood Unfiltered.
That's right.
Today's episode is going to be the day after Father's Day.
It is a day that is kind of one of those double-edged swords, right? I mean, at least that's the way it felt for me, where you're, excited to get to see the kids and get to really, focus on them. But, it may or may not go as according to planned. And some people might not even have the gift of spending that time with their kids at all. But it got me a little curious. So I'll ask you a quiz first and foremost, a Father's Day quiz. All right. You ready?
Go for it.
Where do you think the holiday came from?
I have no idea. I mean, in my mind, I suspect it has something to do with first Mother's Day, but I don't know where it originates.
Good guess. It's a good guess. Okay. So I found this out, this deep down knowledge, but a woman by the name of Sonora Smart Dodd in my mother's hometown of Spokane, Washington in 1910 was inspired by a Mother's Day sermon that she heard at church. Her dad was a Civil War vet who raised 6 kids alone after their mother died in childbirth.
Wow.
So that's a pretty good spot for it to come from. So the very first Father's Day official celebration was June 19th, my sister's birthday, 1910 in Spokane, Washington. Also lovingly known as Spoka Vegas sometimes.
Okay. Never been out there.
So when do you think it was made like an official thing? Or is it an official thing in the U.S.?
I don't know. I have no idea, honestly.
Okay, so it was informal for decades and decades and decades, apparently. President Calvin Coolidge supported it in 1924, but Congress resisted making it official because they thought it was a money grab from the, you guessed it, greeting card industry. Kind of like every other holiday, right? Mother's Day, Valentine's Day, all that. So they didn't make it official, but LBJ, proud Texan, issued the first presidential proclamation recognizing it, but not till 1966. Nixon then signed it into a federal law in June of 72. So it took 62 years to get from the idea of Father's Day as a day until it was actually turned into a federal holiday.
Wow.
Here's the kicker for you, which is like the whole reason we exist. Mother's Day.
Yeah, this is the comparison. You can't help but compare.
Codified by the federal government in 8 days.
And at what point in time? What year?
It was back there in the 1910s, 19 teens, back there. Father's Day, 62 years. Mother's Day, 8 days. Says a lot.
I guess. I mean, there we could go down a lot of rabbit holes here.
Yeah, that's very true. But I mean, at the end of the day, I think especially for divorced dads, I don't think I know for divorced dads that holiday, if you can call it that, sort of sits right at that intersection of love, loss, logistics now, and what fatherhood actually means when there's a big change in the family structure, right? So let me just start our conversation like we are known to have with a couple of just leading questions, right? And kind of get us on target. So for you, walk me through like that 24-hour period immediately before Father's Day this year. And, how was it different? What were you feeling? And maybe what was going through your head that you didn't show?
It's for me, it lined up so that I had my kids this prior week. So there was no transition period. There was no kind of haggling back and forth with hours or transition schedules. And it was a lot easier for me this year. Last year, there was a lot of back and forth between Mother's Day, Father's Day plans, communication issues. But This year, I was very blessed. I had all three kids. My mom came into town, so
Nice.
stepdad's in town. We celebrated. Went to girlfriend's family's restaurant, which was amazing, um, and everybody had a grand time. Like it was really good this year. Very fortunate and very happy. So stars aligned for me this year.
Very nice. Very nice. Well, mine was a step up from the last several years, that's for sure. Um, Mainly because it was less outwardly sort of negative, for lack of a better word. I had my two of my kids, um, the ones that I see more often, for the weekend, and we went out to lunch yesterday with my folks and my dad. That was a blast. But there's the downside of not necessarily seeing all of your kids, at least for me, and I'm trying to be at least a little bit vague in a public forum. But it's hard, because you're excited to get to spend time and have good conversations with part of your family unit, your kids unit, and really still unsure of how to quantify the rest. Um, so that's mixed bag, right?
Yeah.
Mixed bag, and certainly not everybody is in that situation, but I know that some, including members of our group who we talk to quite a bit, don't have any contact at all. And they're lucky to get their 15 minutes on an iPad.
Yeah.
And you know it can always be worse, it can always be better, right? At least that's the way that I choose to look at it at this point. That kind of leads to the next question, that I'm interested to chat about. I know I did this, and I think a lot of divorced dads kind of, whether it's Father's Day or not, just sort of in the back of their mind kind of grade themselves or assess their performance, like it's some kind of job or like it's work where you're being evaluated all the time, but it's you that are doing the evaluating of yourself. Given everything that happened, playing back scenarios in their head. So did you feel that? Or, if so, where do you think that voice comes from?
You know, I don't know. Top of mind. Um, I bring myself back to the divorce and the decree and going through all of this. Father's Day wasn't on my mind.
Right.
You know? And I had to actually honestly go back through and look to see if I even had custody of my kids or possession time with my kids. So I'm very grateful that it's in there. But that's one of the things that I look back at and I'm like, oh wow, like I didn't even think to write this in,
Right.
because to me today it would be very important for me to have that time. And again, I understand, and I think we both understand, like not everybody has that opportunity. So yeah, I guess that's it takes me back a little bit of memory lane. Obviously, I wish I could see my kids more often than I do, and I'm fortunate enough to have them half the time. But it's like you're missing half their life as well. So not just Father's Day, just in general, that you're missing their childhood growing up, and yeah, it's a different reflection when you're a divorced dad and you have them on Father's Day. You appreciate them that much more.
There's the kids side of it too, right? Like, getting to this year, unlike last year, have a kid or two roll out of bed in the morning and wake up and say, "Hey, happy Father's Day," was amazing, right? Just something that it's been a while. But it also kind of brings right to the forefront of your mind at that point, okay, that kids being caught between two homes, and their experience is different than it is too, for better, worse, probably not better. But I mean, how do you think that we can make it better for them without like underplaying us, without having us feel more invisible? I think that's even possible.
Yeah, I mean, what a great question. I mean, I think this whole journey puts you into a perspective of where you have to be present. We talk about being present for your kids, and if you're doing that, you're not truly thinking about yourself. Yeah, it is your day, it's Father's Day. Just like our dads, and we celebrate them and celebrate their lives and celebrate the impact and influence they had. So if I think about that, we have that opportunity to make that impact and leave that, eventually legacy behind, to where they look to us as that leader, mentor, somebody that they're proud of. And I think that's the way I view it, in terms of putting myself in the kids' shoes. Like, okay, am I doing things today and every day that they're going to be proud of me, and proud that I'm their dad? And some situations are really tough, and like I know we talked a bit about yesterday for you.
Mhm.
So yeah, what's your perspective on that?
I think it's interesting, and it's different. It's inherently going to be different for everybody, right? Like my situation is always going to be different than yours, simply because of the age of the kids. I mean, when kids are younger, I think that they're, um, and maybe this is just me, but it feels like they're a little more resilient. They're a little more able to kind of move back and forth and have some of those sorts of things without as much like knowledge, maybe, or baggage that they're going to carry as they get older. Because all I can do is try to put myself in their position and think back to when I was whatever age. Well, what do I actually remember from this, that, or the other? Right. And, my kids are all teenagers, or almost all teenagers. And so they're going to have a very different perspective on all of this than, younger kids will. So, I ask myself those questions a lot. What can I do better? What can I communicate better? Again, whether it's, Father's Day or any day. And I struggle with that still, and will, I think, for quite a while. Um, I couldn't help but notice on Father's Day, of course, I tried to put the phone down completely and be as connected as I could be to what was going on. But it was actually after the kids left yesterday in the evening, and I picked my phone up after they left and started doom scrolling around. And of course, I knew better. I should have just not looked at it, but it's flooded with Father's Day this, Father's Day that. Here's our fishing trip. Here's our this. Here's our that. Here's our barbecue. Um, which is great, and it warms the heart to see those sort of things, but it also has that edge to it, like so many other days do now, where you see those sorts of, at least outwardly, nothing but bliss situation, and know that, yeah, well, probably deep down there's some issues there too, but you can't help but get caught up in the flood of that. I mean, for me, I tried to just not pay attention to the phone at all as best I could, knowing that I was probably going to feel that way. But, of course, fell into that trap later in the evening with nothing better to do. What's your take on that kind of flood of social media?
I think about that as I think about anything in life, whether it's year round. Yeah, you see all these pictures and images, and you got the family walking on the sidewalk with their golden retriever and the white picket fence in the background, and you know
Right.
what you see online is sometimes not what's happening behind the scenes, just like you said, right? So obviously I don't wish negativity or unwell on anybody. I
Yeah.
wish all the positivity in the world, and if they're truly blessed to have a cohesive unit and family unit, and God bless them. Like that's fantastic and wonderful. But as you know, as we know, not everything is always um, picturesque and
Yeah.
perfect as social media says it is, and what you see on social media is not always real. So um, you always have to remember that, right?
Sure. No doubt about it. So just to kind of close up the topic a little bit, right? It's the day after we made it through. It's, Monday after Father's Day. I made it through, you made it through. Most, I think, made it through, although some probably barely did. What do you say directly to yourself, to those men, to that man who's waking up today where it's not Father's Day anymore and there's just sort of that void out there, because the house is quiet or the kids aren't around?
Oof. That silence is deafening. It's I felt that during holidays for sure. Thanksgiving, Christmas, especially the first. Yeah, I mean that was very, very painful, um, no doubt. And yeah, what do you say? I mean, there is light, there is a future, there is an upside, and it's again, I think I always tell this: time is also healing as well, and you can apply that to a lot of different situations. Um, I would say, you have to pull through. Obviously, again, reach out. Brothers Bond, we're here. Community, we're divorced dads going through the same types of things, and other members in our community are. So find that purpose, pull through, find that little crack, that little light that we talk about, and drive toward that. But it is no doubt painful,
Yeah.
and that is there's no way around that. So recognizing that and taking that forward, finding that purpose, I'd say is the first step.
And I think I would add to that. Nobody wants to make, although I think in our own heads, sometimes we fall into the trap of making things sound like a competition here, there, right? So, like, the first words that came to mind for me was, take the wins that you get and know that there's always room to make things better and make things improve. And I don't know that it's necessarily a win or a loss, but it feels like one when you get to have something positive happen like this Father's Day for me certainly felt much better than the last several, and I have to take that positively and know that ultimately, as hard as I might try, you can't force anybody to feel or believe anything. Um, you can just keep doing what you are doing or try new things and try to make things better, but you have to know that ultimately you're not the one that's making those decisions, right? That's up to the people that you love, and so keeping that in mind, I think, is important any day. Thanks for taking some time, Michael. It's always good to chat, and know that for any other divorced dads that are out there, you don't have to do this by yourself. You don't have to be alone. We're just, a group of divorced dads with very different stories, but that one common bond that is having been through this and wishing we would have had a better community to participate in it with, not just from the advice perspective, but just from the experience perspective, and being able to bring people in through that protective shell that we all have to be able to kind of heal and move forward with our lives. So join us if you can, if you'd like to. It's simple. It's brothersbond.com, join the brotherhood, and you can hop into the community we call the Forge, and join us in digital conversations like this, and just know that we're all there for each other. So join us, and happy belated Father's Day.